The scent of her lavender perfume still lingered on the pillow when I woke up that crisp October morning, alone in our king-sized bed. I thought we had it all. A marble-floored mansion, a fortune I'd clawed my way to through sleepless nights, and cutthroat deals, and a wife whose laughter once lit up my world. But that morning, in the suffocating silence of our bedroom, I found a bank statement on her vanity that didn't just break me, it obliterated everything I believed in. She was gone. My wife, the woman who'd whispered promises of forever over candlelit dinners, had vanished with every dollar we owned. I can still hear the faint buzz of her phone from those late-night calls she'd brushed off as work. I can still see the flicker in her eyes when I'd ask about our plans, her smile tight as a locked vault. How did I miss it? The truth wasn't just betrayal, it was annihilation, as if our life together had been a lie she'd scripted from the start. This isn't just about the money she stole. It's about the trust I poured into her, the love I thought was unbreakable, and the gut-wrenching question that haunts me. Who am I without her? The pain is a living thing, sharp and relentless, clawing at me as I replay every moment, every kiss, every lie, wondering where I went wrong. Could I have stopped her? Could I have seen the storm coming? But there's one thing she didn't take, one piece of me she couldn't touch. And when I uncovered the truth about her plan, a secret so twisted it left me reeling, I realized this story was far from over. What did she leave behind? And what's waiting for me now that the empire I built is dust? If you've ever been blindsided by someone you loved, if you've ever had to rebuild from nothing, hit that like button and share your story in the comments. Let's talk about the scars we carry and the strength we find. Subscribe and ring the bell. You won't want to miss the next chapter of this fight. The chandelier's sickly glow bled across the marble floors of our master suite. Each step I took a hollow thud, like a heart failing. This mansion, my grand gesture to Claire, every gold-trimmed mirror, every silk drape chosen to coax her rare, radiant smile, was now a crypt. Her absence wasn't just a void. It was a living thing, pressing against my ribs, stealing my breath. I'd built this palace to cage her love, but all it held was my ruin. I drifted to the velvet chaise, my fingers grazing her crimson scarf, abandoned like a lover's promise. Its lavender scent hit me like a fist, sharp and intimate. Had she worn it last night, twirling it around her neck as she laughed at my jokes, or was that another lie I'd swallowed whole? The fabric felt alive, mocking me, and I clutched it, my throat raw with something I couldn't name. Grief, rage, or the pathetic ache of wanting her still. On her vanity, a bank statement sat like a guillotine. $12.4 million, my empire, my sweat, my sleepless nights, siphoned to some offshore account I'd never heard of. My knees gave out, the marble cold against my palms. $12 million gone. Not just money, my identity, my proof I was enough. Claire had gutted me, and I hadn't even heard the blade slide in. I fumbled for my phone, dialed her number, knowing it was futile. Her voicemail chirped, bright and teasing. You know what to do, darling. And it was a knife twisting deep. That voice, the one that used to murmur my name in the dark, now a stranger's taunt. I played it again, then again, each word, carving out another piece of me. How had I missed the chill behind her warmth? In her closet, I found a leather diary, its edges worn from her touch. Locked, no key. It pulsed with secrets she'd never shared. I gripped it, my hands trembling, as if it could confess her betrayal. Had she written about me in those pages? Was I the fool, the mark, the husband she'd played from the start? The diary's silence was louder than the mansion's. A scream. I couldn't answer. I sank into the dark, whiskey searing my throat, her last words looping like a cruel song. I'll always love you, James. Had she meant it, even for a moment? Or was it just another line in her script, delivered with those eyes that made me believe I was her world? I'd spent years chasing her approval, building this empire to prove I deserved her. Now, I sat in its wreckage, a king without a crown, wondering if I'd ever known her at all. The silence was a beast, clawing at my chest. It wasn't just her absence. It was the truth she'd left behind, the one I was too scared to face. How do you love someone who's already gone? How do you trust a heart that's been gutted? I stared at the scarf, the diary, the empty room, and felt the first stirrings of something dangerous, not just grief, but a hunger to know why. Claire had taken everything, but I wasn't done with her yet. Claire's laughter, once the pulse of our life, now slithered through my mind like a ghost I couldn't banish. It echoed in the empty mansion, a cruel reminder of the woman I'd thought was mine. I needed answers, even if they'd flay me raw. The truth was out there, and I'd tear the world apart to find it, starting with the scraps she'd left behind. I met Ray in a greasy diner, its air thick with burnt coffee and regret. He was a private investigator, all tired eyes and smoker's rasp, the kind of man who'd seen too many betrayals to flinch at mine. I slid the bank statement across the sticky table, $12.4 million gone. He scanned it, his whistle low and sharp. "This ain't a lover's spat, James," he said. "This is a heist." His words landed like a punch, confirming what I'd dreaded. Claire hadn't just left me, she'd orchestrated my ruin. Ray dug up a lead, a one-way ticket to Paris in Claire's name, booked hours before she vanished. Paris, where we'd danced under streetlights, her head on my shoulder, promising forever. The irony was a blade, slicing through the memory. Had she planned her escape even then, her vows just a performance? I saw her in my mind, her eyes glinting, with secrets I'd been too lovesick to notice. Back home, I pried open her diary with a kitchen knife, the lock snapping like a bone. My heart thudded as I flipped through her elegant script. V at 3 a.m. J can't know. J for James. The words blurred, my pulse a roar. Was I the enemy she'd plotted against? The diary was a map to her betrayal, each note a pin in my chest, but it gave no answers. Just more questions I wasn't sure I could survive. A memory ambushed me. Claire in our kitchen, twirling a wine glass, her voice soft but probing. "You'd fight for me, right, James?" I'd grinned, kissed her, oblivious to the test in her words. Now, I saw it. The way her smile didn't reach her eyes, the way she'd weighed my devotion. I'd been a fool, drunk on her, while she'd been planning her exit, step by calculated step. Ray's call jolted me awake at 2 a.m., his voice grim. "Her money's in a Cayman shell company," he said. "This wasn't a whim, James. She's been at it for years." Years. The word echoed, a death knell. Had our entire marriage been a con? Every touch, every whispered, "I love you." A lie spun to keep me blind? I stared at the diary, its pages mocking me, and felt the ground shift beneath my feet. The truth was a wound, fresh and bleeding with every clue. Claire hadn't just stolen my money, she'd stolen my reality, rewriting our love into a script I'd never read. I clutched her scarf, its lavender scent a taunt, and wondered how I'd missed the stranger sleeping beside me. The mansion's silence pressed in, heavy with her phantom laughter, daring me to chase her. I wasn't ready to. Let her win, not yet. Whatever she'd planned, I'd find her, and the truth she thought she could bury. Sleep was a ghost now, as elusive as Claire's truth. The mansion's shadows coiled around me, each one a reminder of my blindness. I'd worshipped her, built my world around her. But she was a mirage, dissolving with every step I took into her lies. I was drowning in the wreckage of our life, chasing a woman who might never have existed. I found our gala photo in a drawer, her hand on my arm, her smile a lighthouse in my storm. I tore it, the rip echoing in the silent room, hating her for making me love her. Then, like a fool, I taped it back together, my fingers trembling with shame. I couldn't let her go, not even in pieces. That smile, had it ever been real, or just a mask she'd worn to keep me tethered? Ray called with a name. Victor Crane, a financier with a fraud rap sheet longer than my grief. V from Claire's diary. They'd met at a motel last month, he said, his voice heavy with pity I didn't want. Victor. The syllable sat in my mouth like poison. Was he the one she'd run to? The one who'd helped her gut my life? I saw them together, her laughter, for him, and it burned. I drove to the motel, its neon sign buzzing like my nerves, a cheap dive off the highway where secrets went to fester. The clerk, a bored kid with greasy hair, chewed gum and shrugged. Yeah, she was here. Paid cash, looked scared, like she was running from something. Scared? Claire, with her steel spine and velvet smile. The image didn't fit, but it gnawed at me, a crack in the facade I'd thought I knew. Back home, I found a burner phone in her desk, tucked under a stack of old letters. One contact, VC. My hands shook as I dialed, the silence on the line colder than the mansion's marble. No answer, just a void where her truth should have been. I stared at the phone, its screen dark, and felt the weight of every moment. I'd missed her guarded glances, her late-night whispers I'd dismissed as dreams. Lying in bed, I traced our years together, her kisses soft as lies, her eyes always holding something back. Had I loved a ghost? A woman who'd calculated every touch? The question clawed at me, relentless. I'd been so sure of her, so desperate to be her everything. I'd ignored the cracks in her facade. Now, they were all I could see, gaping wide, swallowing me whole. The mansion was a cage, its silence a mirror to my failure. I wasn't just chasing Claire. I was chasing the man I'd been, the one who'd believed in her. Every clue, from Victor's name to that burner phone, was a shard of the truth she'd shattered. I wasn't ready to face it, not yet, but I couldn't stop either. Have you ever clung to a love that was slipping away? How do you face the truth when it breaks you? I gripped the taped photo, her smile a taunt, and knew I'd keep digging, even if it buried me. Victor Crane wasn't just a name. He was a phantom, the key to Claire's betrayal, a shadow I had to drag into the light. My life was unraveling, thread by thread, and he was the needle she'd used to stitch her lies. I needed to see his face, to know why she'd chosen him to burn my world down. Ray traced Victor to a Manhattan penthouse, its glass walls gleaming like a fortress of secrets. I staked it out from a rented car, the city's pulse mocking my own, ragged, desperate. Men in tailored suits drifted in and out, their faces blurred by rain. Was one of them him? I imagined his smirk, his hand on Claire's waist, and my grip tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. She'd run to him, hadn't she? Left me bleeding in our mausoleum for his promises. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Walk away, James, or you'll lose more than money. The words froze me. Claire's voice? Victor's? Someone else who knew my ruin? My breath hitched, the car's air thick with dread. I stared at the screen, willing it to confess, but it stayed silent, a taunt as sharp as her absence. Who was watching me, and how deep did this go? I slipped into the penthouse lobby, a fake delivery badge pinned to my jacket, my pulse a drumbeat. The place reeked of wealth, polished chrome, fresh lilies, but it felt sterile, like Claire's. Lies. A guard, broad and suspicious, blocked my path. Crane's not here, he growled. Get lost. His eyes bored into mine, and I wondered if he knew her, if he'd seen her slip through these doors laughing at my expense. I backed off, my heart a caged animal. Back at the mansion, a letter waited, slid under my door in Claire's elegant script. I'm sorry, James. You can't understand. The words were a slap, her apology a blade dressed in silk. I sank to the floor, the paper crumpling in my fist. Sorry? For what? Stealing my life? My love? My trust? Or for something I hadn't seen yet? Something worse? My chest ached, torn, between rage and a traitor's longing to believe her. Ray's call came at midnight, his voice heavy. Victor's not just a financier, he said. He's Claire's ex, from before you. She never told you, did she? The truth landed like a brick, shattering another piece of me. An ex. A man she'd loved before me, whose name she'd erased from our life. Had she ever stopped loving him? Was I just a placeholder? A bank to fund their reunion? The thought was acid, eating through my memories of her. The mansion's silence was suffocating, Victor's shadow looming larger with every clue. Claire hadn't just left me. She'd run to a past I'd never known, a man who held her secrets. I clutched her letter, its ink smudging under my thumb, and felt the hunger grow. Not just for answers, but for the chance to face her, to make her see the wreckage she'd left. Whatever she was hiding, whatever Victor meant to her, I'd find it, even if it cost me everything I had left. Claire's letter was a venomous jest, her sorry, a barbed hook in my heart. I wasn't her husband, her love. I was her mark, a pawn in a game she'd rigged from our first kiss. The mansion, once our sanctuary, was now a blueprint of her lies, every room a testament to my blindness. I needed to know how she'd built this betrayal brick by brick. I stormed into my lawyer's office, the bank statement a grenade in my hand. Harold, all gray hair and nervous tics, flinched as I slammed it down. "How did she do it?" I growled. He stammered, eyes darting, then confessed. Claire had forged my signature on transfers, starting last year. Last year, when she'd still kissed me goodnight, her lips warm, her lies colder. The betrayal wasn't a moment. It was a campaign, waged while I slept beside her. In her diary, I found a sketch of a Paris villa, its lines precise, labeled freedom, in her elegant, and freedom from me. Had she sat at her vanity, dreaming of escape while I planned our future? The image was a gut punch. Claire, plotting a life without me, her pen carving out my ruin as neatly as she'd carved my heart. I traced the sketch, my fingers shaking, hating how I still loved her lines. Ray emailed a photo that night. Claire and Victor at a Paris cafe, her arm looped through his, her smile brighter than I'd ever seen. She looked alive, unburdened, as if my love had been a chain she'd finally shed. The photo wasn't just proof. It was a mirror, showing me the man I'd never been for her. I stared at it, my chest tight, wondering what I'd lacked. What Victor had that I didn't. I called my sister, Ellen, my voice a broken thing. "She's gone, Elle," I said, tears choking me. "She took everything." Ellen's voice was fierce, steady. "You're enough, James. Don't let her steal that, too." Her words were a lifeline, but they felt like a lie. Enough? I'd built an empire for Claire, and still, I'd failed her. Or had she failed me? The question was a knot I couldn't untie. On Claire's old laptop, I found an email, buried in a hidden folder. "Victor, he's done. We're free." The words were a sledgehammer, shattering what little hope I'd clung to. Rage surged, hot and blinding. I smashed the laptop, glass slicing my palm, blood mixing with my tears. She'd wanted me broken, and she'd succeeded. But why? What had I done to deserve this annihilation? The mansion was a cage of her lies, every detail. The forged signatures, the villa sketch, her radiant smile. A brick in the architecture of my ruin. I wasn't just a victim. I was a fool who'd loved too deeply, seen too little. When the person you love builds a life without you, how do you find the courage to rebuild alone? I gripped the diary, its pages heavy with her secrets, and felt a spark of defiance. Claire had taken my money, my trust, but I wasn't done. I'd find her, face her, and demand the truth she thought she could bury. I couldn't rot in that mansion, drowning in Claire's lies. Paris was my only lead, a city that held her secrets and maybe her soul. I'd hunt her truth to the ends of the earth, even if it meant chasing a ghost. The need for answers wasn't just a fire. It was a fever, burning me alive. I boarded a flight to Paris, my hands unsteady as I packed. Claire's crimson scarf tangled in my suitcase, its lavender scent a cruel whisper of her. I couldn't leave it behind, couldn't sever that last thread of her even as it choked me. The plane's hum was a lullaby to my rage, but sleep wouldn't come, only images of her, laughing with Victor, free of me. At the airport, a man in a gray coat brushed past, his voice a hiss. "You're digging your grave, James." I spun, heart hammering, but he was gone, swallowed by the crowd. Was he Victor's man? Claire's? or just a stranger who saw my ruin written on my face. The warning clung to me, a shadow I couldn't shake, making every glance from a passerby feel like a threat. In Paris, I found the cafe from Ray's photo, its tables glowing under golden lamps. The waiter, a thin man with tired eyes, nodded when I showed Claire's picture. "She was here," he said, with a tall guy, paid cash, kept looking over her shoulder. Her paranoia didn't match the woman I'd known. Cool, untouchable. What was she running from? Me? Or something darker? I tracked the villa from her diary sketch, its ivy-covered walls looming under a moonlit sky. It was quaint, almost too perfect, like a stage set for her new life. The windows were dark, silent, but I felt her presence, a pulse in the air. I circled the house, my breath fogging, every creak of the gate a jolt to my nerves. Was she inside, watching me unravel? An old woman next door stared from her porch, her eyes sharp as knives. "That woman's a chameleon," she said, her voice low, then retreated into her house. A chameleon? Claire, with her quick smiles and quicker lies, fit the word too well. Had she shed her skin here, become someone new? The thought was a splinter, digging deeper with every step I took. The villa's silence was deafening, its locked door a taunt. I wasn't just chasing Claire, I was chasing the life I'd thought we had, the love I'd bet everything on. Every clue, from the waiter's words to the old woman's warning, was a piece of her puzzle, but none fit together. I pressed my hand to the villa's cold stone, feeling its secrets just out of reach. Paris wasn't a city, it was a trap, and I was walking deeper into it. I'd come for answers, but all I found were shadows. Claire was here, somewhere, her laughter echoing in my mind, daring me to find her. I wasn't sure what scared me more, facing her or finding out she was gone forever. The scarf in my bag felt heavier, a chain I couldn't break. Whatever she was hiding, I'd tear through this city to uncover it, even if it meant losing myself. In the process, the villa was my last stand, a fortress holding Claire's truth. I'd break it open, rip her secrets from its walls, even if they crushed me. Paris's moonlight bathed the ivy-covered house in silver, but it felt like a grave, waiting to swallow me whole. I wasn't leaving without answers, no matter the cost. I picked the lock at midnight, my hand steady despite the fear clawing my chest. The door creaked open, and I stepped into a world that wasn't mine. Photos lined the walls, Claire and Victor, their smiles mocking me, frozen in moments I'd never shared. Her laughter, her touch, given to him while I'd built her a kingdom. The air was thick with her lavender scent, a ghost that choked me. In the study, a safe gleamed, its steel cold under my fingers. I cracked it after an hour, my breath ragged, and found my company's contracts inside, annotated in Claire's precise hand. She'd sold my legacy, trade secrets, deals I'd bled for, marked with her notes like a butcher carving meat. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was surgical, stripping me of everything I'd been. A voice sliced the dark. "You're trespassing, James." Victor Crane stood in the doorway, lean and smirking, a gun glinting in his hand. His eyes were predator-sharp, sizing me up like prey. I froze, my pulse a roar, the safe's contents burning in my grip. He was real now, not a shadow, and his presence made Claire's betrayal sharper, a blade twisting deeper. He laughed, a sound like broken glass. "Claire never loved you," he said. "You were her ticket out, a bank to fund her freedom." The words were poison, seeping into every doubt I'd buried. Had I been nothing to her? A means to an end? My love a currency she'd spent? I saw her in his words. Cool, calculating, the woman I'd missed behind her smiles. Rage erupted, hot and blind. I lunged at him, the gun a blur between us. We crashed to the floor, my fists connecting with his jaw, his blood warm on my knuckles. The gun skidded across the wood and I scrambled for it, but Victor was faster. He bolted, vanishing into the night, leaving me gasping, the contracts scattered like ashes. I'd won nothing but a bruise and a truth I couldn't unsee. The villa was a crime scene now, not just of Claire's theft, but of my failure. She hadn't just taken my money, she'd sold my soul piece by piece with Victor as her partner. Why me? Was I so easy to play? So desperate for her love that I'd ignored the knife at my back? The photos on the walls stared down, her eyes, in every frame, daring me to keep chasing. I clutched the contracts, their ink a map of her betrayal, and felt the weight of what I'd lost. Not just my empire, but my belief in her. The villa's silence was a mirror, reflecting a man I didn't recognize, broken, but not done. Claire and Victor thought they'd buried me, but I'd dig my way out, even if it meant tearing myself apart. The gun lay in the corner, cold and waiting, a promise I wasn't ready to make. Victor's words, "Claire never loved you," were a venom that wouldn't stop spreading. They burned through me, but I was done being her victim, done bleeding for a woman who'd made me her fool. I'd hunt her down, expose her lies, even if the truth cost me everything. The game wasn't over, and I was ready to play dirty. I found Zoe, a hacker with a buzz cut and a nicotine habit, in a back alley cafe. She cracked her knuckles, eyes glinting as I showed her Claire's offshore accounts. "This is big," she said, her laptop humming. Hours later, she traced the money to Victor's fraud network, millions laundered clean. My empire dissolved into their freedom. The truth was a gut punch. Claire hadn't just stolen from me. She'd rebuilt her life on my ashes. Ray called with a lead. Claire was in London, hiding under an alias in a cheap flat. I booked a flight, my heart a tangle of fury and a traitor's hope. London's rain soaked me as I watched her from across the street. Her hair dyed blonde, her laugh piercing the gray. She looked free, unburdened, as if my love had been a prison she'd escaped. The sight was a knife, twisting deeper than her theft. I cornered her in a crowded cafe, the air thick with espresso and my rage. "Why, Claire?" I said, my voice raw, barely mine. She flinched, her eyes wide, then cold. "I had to escape you," she whispered, her words a bullet I hadn't seen coming. Escape me. Had I been her cage, my love a chain? Before I could speak, she bolted, her coat a blur in the crowd. In the chaos, I grabbed her bag, my hands moving on instinct. Inside was a USB drive, its weight heavy with promise. Back in my hotel, I plugged it in, my breath shallow. Files loaded, bank records, emails, proof of their scam. My company's collapse orchestrated by Claire and Victor. She'd planned every move, her betrayal a symphony I'd been too deaf to hear. The truth was uglier than I'd imagined, but it was mine now. Her words, "Escape you," echoed, a wound that wouldn't close. Had I smothered her, my devotion a weight she couldn't bear? Or was it another lie, a way to twist the knife? I saw our years together, her smiles, her touches, and wondered which were real. The USB drive was my leverage, but it came with a mirror. I'd loved a woman who didn't exist, and that failure was mine. London's rain battered my window, a rhythm to my unraveling. Claire was out there, thinking she'd won, but I had her. Secrets now. The cost of truth was steep. My name, my pride, maybe my sanity, but I'd pay it to see her face her lies. I gripped the USB, its plastic cold, and felt a shift. Not just anger, but purpose. She'd taken everything, but I wasn't empty yet. I'd chase her to the end, not for love, but for the man she'd tried to erase. The cafe's echo lingered. Her voice, her flight, and I knew this wasn't over. She'd run, but I was closer now, and I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. The USB drive was my trump card, a weapon forged from Claire's lies, but wielding it meant exposing my own failures. I'd been her mark, her fool, and the world would know it. Revenge or redemption, I had to choose. But both paths led through fire, and I was already burning. I met an FBI agent, Carter, in a sterile office, the USB drive heavy in my pocket. I handed it over, naming Claire and Victor, my voice steady despite the dread. "This'll destroy your name too," Carter warned, his eyes hard. I nodded, knowing the cost. My company's ruin, my reputation shredded. The truth wasn't free, it demanded everything, and I was ready to pay. The news broke like a storm. My empire's collapse. My face on every screen. A cautionary tale of trust betrayed. Old friends stopped calling. My phone's silence was louder than the headlines. The mansion felt like a tomb, its marble floors cold under my pacing feet. I'd wanted justice, but this felt like punishment. My life stripped bare for the world to judge. Was this what Claire had wanted? To break me so completely I'd vanish? A letter arrived, Claire's script elegant as ever. I was drowning, James. I had to save myself. The words were a riddle, her plea a knot I couldn't untie. Drowning? In what? Our life, my love? Or something darker, a secret she'd buried deeper than my money? Her lies twisted tighter, and I hated how they still made me ache for her, even now, when I knew she'd never been mine. I tracked Victor to a warehouse, its rusted walls reeking of desperation. He stood under a flickering bulb, his smirk unchanged, as if my ruin was his trophy. Half the money, James, he offered, voice smooth. Stay quiet, and you're rich again. I spat in his face, my rage a living thing. He laughed, but I saw the fear in his eyes, fear of me, the man he'd underestimated. My phone recorded his confession, every word a nail in their coffin. The scam, the laundering, Claire's role as his partner. The FBI swarmed in, cuffs snapping on Victor's wrists, his smirk gone. Claire's arrest followed, her name a headline beside mine. I'd won, but the victory was hollow, a skeleton of what I'd wanted. Justice didn't fill the hole she'd left, it just showed me how deep it was. The warehouse's echo faded, but Claire's letter lingered, her words a ghost I couldn't banish. Had she been drowning, or was it another lie to keep me tethered? I saw her in my mind, her smile, her eyes, the woman I'd loved, and wondered if any of it had been real. The USB drive had ended her game, but it hadn't ended my questions. I'd exposed her, but at what cost? My name was mud, my empire ash, and the man I'd been was gone. I stood in the rain, the city's pulse faint against my own. Claire and Victor were finished, but I wasn't. The truth had cost me everything, but it had given me something too. A chance to see myself, flaws and all. I wasn't whole, but I wasn't hers anymore. The game was over, and I was still standing, ready to face whatever came next. Claire's trial was a carnival of pain, her face haunting every screen, a ghost I couldn't escape. I sat in the courtroom's back row, a stranger to the man I'd been, James the mogul, James the husband, James the fool. The truth had gutted me, but it had also set me free, and I was here to see her face the wreckage she'd left. She took the stand, her voice soft, almost broken. I loved James, but I couldn't stay. The words were a dagger, and I hated how my heart twisted, still raw for her lie. Loved me? Then why the theft, the lies, the years of playing me like a pawn? Her eyes avoided mine, and I saw the Claire I'd known, cool, untouchable, slipping, behind a mask of regret. Was it real or just another act? The jury convicted her, their verdict a hammer on my past. The money was gone, laundered beyond reach, my empire reduced to headlines and whispers. I'd been a king once, but now I was just James, a man with scars and a story no one wanted to hear. The courtroom's silence was heavy, a mirror to the mansion I'd left behind, its marble floors no longer home. I sold the mansion, its opulence, a weight I couldn't carry. Claire's crimson scarf stayed with me, its lavender scent faded but sharp in my memory. It was a scar, a reminder of my blindness, but also a shield, proof I'd survived her. I moved into a cramped apartment, its walls bare, its quiet honest. For the first time, I didn't need to prove anything, not to her, not to the world. Ellen found me a job, something small, steady. You're enough, James, she said, her eyes fierce with love. I doubted it for so long, measured my worth in dollars and Claire's smiles. But now, in the simplicity of a desk, a paycheck, a sister's faith, I started to believe her. I wasn't the man I'd been, but I was something new, raw, real, mine. In the rain, I burned Claire's diary, its pages curling into ash, the wind carrying them away. The act wasn't closure. It was a beginning, a letting go of the man who'd loved her too much. I stood there soaked, feeling the city's pulse sync with my own. I wasn't healed, but I was free, unmoored from her lies, ready to find out who I could be without her shadow. This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who's been broken and kept going, who's faced the truth and found strength in the ashes. Claire took everything, but she didn't take me. I'm still here, scarred but standing, and that's enough. If you've fought through betrayal, if you've clawed your way back, hit that like button, share your scars in the comments. Subscribe, ring the bell. Our stories aren't over and neither are we. We've all got a fight in us, a fire that won't die. Mine started in a mansion, ended in the rain, and now it's yours too. Tell me your story, your truth, your dawn. Let's rebuild together, one word, one step, one day at a time. The ashes are behind us, the dawn is ours to claim. Claim.